the chaos they create. There's something intoxicating about it. It's the kind of drama that whispers promises of tension, destruction, and an emotional roller coaster, drawing you in like a moth to a flame. They play their toxic little games, throwing insults, lies, manipulations, always trying to push your buttons, control your reactions, make you feel something. They think they're winning, don't they? They think that every word, every maneuver is taking you one step closer to cracking. And they expect you to break, crumble under the weight of their cruelty, their need for control. They expect you to collapse, to fight back in anger, to beg, to plead, to prove you're worthy of their respect. But you figured it out. You've learned how to use their toxicity against them. While they try to drag you down into their mess, you stand there, still, unshaken, calm, and they can't stand it. They can't understand why their games don't affect you anymore. They can't wrap their heads around the fact that you aren't playing by their rules. They've built their world on manipulation, control, chaos. But in the end, they've given you the greatest gift they could ever offer: the ability to master your inner peace. They think they can get under your skin. They think they know you. They think that their words will sting. Their actions will wound. But they have no idea who they're dealing with now. In the past, maybe their words did get to you. Maybe they planted seeds of doubt, made you question yourself, made you feel like you were unworthy. And you fought back, didn't you? You tried to prove them wrong. You threw yourself into their games because for a while you believed you needed their validation, their respect, their approval. You thought you had to play by their rules to earn their acceptance. But then you woke up. You saw the game for what it really was. You realized that the power they had over you was never theirs to begin with. It was yours. And when you stopped playing their games, when you stopped reacting to their chaos, they lost. Not you. You see, silence isn't weakness. They want you to believe it is. They want you to think that when you stop fighting back, when you refuse to engage with their toxic behavior, you're somehow giving up. But the truth is, silence is power. It's control. It's knowing that your peace is more valuable than any reaction they could ever provoke from you. It's recognizing that their need for drama and chaos is theirs to own, not yours. And when you choose silence, when you decide that your emotional stability is more important than proving anything to someone who doesn't deserve your time or energy, you win. Every single time. Think about it. They push and prod. They try to poke the bear, to make you lash out. They want to see you scramble, to watch you fight for their attention. They want to see you get angry. They want to see you vulnerable. They want to see you fall apart. And when they do this, they expect you to react. They expect to see you crack under the pressure of their manipulation. They expect you to fight fire with fire, to become the monster they want you to be. But instead, you stand there, still, calm, detached. And that, my friend, is exactly what drives them mad. They can't understand it. They don't get it. Why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you fighting back? Why are you so calm, so unaffected, so unbothered? And that's when the real magic happens. When you choose silence, when you refuse to engage with their negativity, that's when they start to panic. Because they don't know what to do with someone who's no longer playing their game. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to give them the reaction they've been waiting for. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they could make you beg, make you squirm, make you fall to your knees. But now you've turned the tables. You've made their games irrelevant. And that's what makes them crazy. It's almost comical when you think about it. They spent so much time and energy trying to control your emotions, trying to make you feel small, trying to make you react. They thought they could make you chase after their validation, beg for their respect. They thought their manipulation would break you. But what they didn't realize is that every time they tried, they only made you stronger. Every jab, every insult, every toxic word, they only added fuel to your fire. They underestimated you. And that's what makes this so delicious. Every time they think they've got you figured out, you pull back. You don't engage. You don't react. You don't play. And it eats them alive. Because they can't handle it. They can't stand that you're no longer playing by their rules. They thought they could break you down, make you beg for their attention, make you apologize for something you didn't even do. They thought they could make you feel guilty, make you feel like you're the problem. But the joke's on them, because you've learned to stand firm. You've learned that your peace is non-negotiable. And every time they try to drag you back into their chaos, you just walk away. You see, their toxic behavior, their games, they have no power over you. You've learned that you don't need to engage with their negativity. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to fight for their respect. You've learned to protect your energy, to guard your peace, and to walk away from drama when it's not serving you. And that's where the real strength lies. In the ability to walk away unbothered. In the ability to say, no, I won't lower myself to your level. In the ability to protect your peace and choose your own happiness over their need for control. And you know what's even more powerful? When they start to feel the weight of their own behavior. They thought they could push you around, play their little games, and get away with it. But now, they're the ones left in the aftermath, scrambling to piece together the shattered remains of their own self-worth. Every time they remember how they treated you, how they manipulated you, how they tried to break you down, they start to realize something. They've lost. They've lost your respect. They've lost your trust. And worse yet, they've lost the one thing they thought they could always count on, your emotional reaction. Because when you walk away, when you stop giving them the power to control your feelings, you take back the control. You take back your power. And that, my friend, is the thing that haunts them the most. Not your anger, not your frustration, but the fact that they've lost the game, that they've been outplayed, and they'll never be able to understand how you did it. They thought they could break you, but in the end, it was their own toxicity that broke them. You see, it's not about winning in the traditional sense. It's not about shouting, fighting, and proving a point. No, it's about taking control of your peace, your emotions, your mind. It's about choosing to rise above their petty games, their toxic behavior, their manipulation. And when you do that, when you learn to protect your peace at all costs, you become untouchable. And that's when the real power starts to show. When you realize that you don't need them, that you don't need anyone's validation, that you don't need to prove anything to anyone, that's when you become the master of your own life. And that, my friend, is what makes you unbreakable. Let's talk about the inevitable moment, the moment when they realize the truth. Their toxic games didn't break you. They didn't defeat you. They didn't even touch you. And this moment, oh, it's more powerful than anything you could have said or done. Because it's in their silence, the silence after the storm, that the weight of their actions truly hits them. It's when they're forced to face the consequences of what they've tried to do to you. And they find that they can no longer get under your skin. For so long, they've been playing their game, tossing around insults, lies, and manipulations, trying to rattle you, trying to shake you, trying to prove that you're weak. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd crumble. They thought that if they pushed hard enough, if they pulled the right strings, they'd see you lose control. But that's where the real twist lies. Because when you refuse to play their game, when you don't react the way they expect you to, when you choose your peace over the chaos they're trying to create, that's when they start to lose. They lose the control they thought they had over you. They lose the ability to make you feel small. They lose the power to manipulate your emotions. And now, they're left with nothing but their own guilt, their own regret. Every time they replay the scene in their minds, every time they remember how they treated you, they realize the truth. They underestimated you. They took your silence as weakness, but they were wrong. Your silence is your strength. Let's talk about what's going on inside them. What happens when the toxic games they've played for so long finally come to a halt? You've walked away, you've detached, and you're moving forward without a backward glance. They can't stand it. They thought they could manipulate you into submission, break you down, make you beg, make you crawl, make you feel like you were nothing. But here you are, standing tall, moving on with your life, unaffected. And it's driving them insane. The regret is like a poison eating them alive. They can't understand it. They can't handle it. They thought they could control the situation, make you feel desperate for their approval, desperate to get back into their good graces. But instead, you've taken control of your own life. You've reclaimed your peace. You've chosen your happiness over their chaos, your self-respect over their approval, your freedom over their manipulation. And that, my friend, is what's truly killing them. What's even more powerful is the fact that they can't do anything about it. They can't manipulate you anymore. They can't gaslight you into thinking you need them. They can't control your emotions or dictate how you respond. The power is no longer in their hands. And every time they try to reach out, every time they try to push your buttons, you refuse to engage. And that's when the walls start closing in on them. Do you want to know what really terrifies them? It's not that you're angry. It's not that you're upset. No. What scares them the most is that they can no longer control your reactions. They can no longer get the emotional response they crave. They can no longer make you chase after their approval, beg for their attention. They can no longer make you feel inferior. And that's a power they'll never be able to regain. And it's not just about the power dynamics. It's deeper than that. It's about the truth that's staring them in the face. The truth they can't escape. They've lost someone who was willing to give them everything. Someone who was patient. Someone who was kind. Someone who genuinely cared. But they were too blind to see it. They were too caught up in their own toxic game to recognize what they were losing. They thought they could mistreat you, take you for granted, and you'd always come back. They thought they could push you to the edge and you'd beg for their attention, their affection, their approval. But you didn't. And that's the moment they realize they've lost something precious, something they'll never get back. It's in this moment that the guilt sets in, the realization that their behavior was never justified, that they've pushed you to a place where you no longer care to fight for their validation. You've reached a place where you no longer need their approval to feel good about yourself. And that's what eats at them. The knowledge that they've lost someone who knew their worth and chose to walk away instead of being dragged into their toxic spiral. But here's the kicker. Here's the part that will hit them like a ton of bricks. When you walk away, when you refuse to play their games, when you choose peace over conflict, you've already won, not in the way they expected, not in a way that involves shouting matches or dramatic confrontations. No, you've won by taking control of your emotions, by refusing to let them dictate your happiness, by refusing to be a pawn in their toxic chess game. And when you walk away, when you stop giving them the power to affect you, you've taken back your power in the most beautiful way possible. Now, as they sit in the silence you've created, they realize something. They've pushed away someone who had the potential to bring light, love, and peace into their life. They've lost someone who could have been a source of strength, of support, of understanding. And they have no one to blame but themselves. But that's not even the hardest part for them. The hardest part is the knowledge that they'll never get the satisfaction of a response. They'll never get the satisfaction of seeing you break, of seeing you beg, of seeing you fall apart. They thought they could make you weak, but instead, they've made you stronger. And that's what they can't handle. Every time they think about you, every time they remember how they treated you, your silence echoes in their mind. It's like a haunting, a constant reminder that they've lost someone who was worth their time, someone who was willing to fight for them, someone who was capable of unconditional love and understanding. And they'll never be able to undo the damage they've caused. They'll never be able to reverse the fact that you walked away, that you chose peace over their chaos. And that's what makes them question everything. Because in their mind, you should have reacted. You should have gotten angry. You should have fought back. But you didn't. And now, they're left with nothing but the painful realization that their toxic games didn't just lose them your respect. They lost your presence. They lost your love. And worst of all, they lost your peace. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The very thing they tried to use to hurt you, the silence, the peace, the detachment, you've turned it into your greatest weapon. And now, it's their greatest punishment. Every time they look in the mirror, they'll remember how they treated you. And every time they remember, they'll be reminded that they pushed you away, that they lost someone who was truly worthy of their time. And that, my friend, will stay with them forever. So, let them sit in their regret. Let them stew in their guilt. Because while they're stuck in the past, you're moving forward. You're evolving. You're growing. And you're doing it all without them. The games they played didn't break you. In fact, they only made you stronger. And that's something they'll never understand. Now, let me leave you with one last thought. One final piece of wisdom that will stick with you forever. The greatest revenge, the greatest victory, is not in proving them wrong. It's not in fighting back. It's not in getting the last word. No. The greatest victory is in walking away, unbothered, unbroken, stronger than ever. And that's what will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Because they'll never get it. They'll never understand how your peace, your silence, and your strength became the very thing that shattered their world. And that, my friend, is where their true defeat lies.